everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill and welcome back to my vegetable garden. You know, it's late August and it's time for another vegetable garden tour. I want to show you how things are growing at this stage of the game. The first thing I wanted to show you is my Calibos red cabbage patch. The plants are forming heads, as you can see, and those will be perfect for coleslaw and sauerkraut. You might recall that I have a bridal veil netting covering the bed, and that is to keep insects away from the plants. This second bed probably doesn't look so good to you. You might recall that it originally had garlic and shallots in it, and then in my last video I showed you that I was growing cover crops. Anytime I have a bed that nothing is growing in, I plant cover crops because those will help replenish nutrients that were lost when I grew the previous crop. So that's a really important tip. This next bed is the carrot and parsnip bed. The plants are doing great. I could harvest them now if I wanted, but I prefer to wait until after we have a frost because then the roots become sweeter. This next bed probably looks a little different. This is one of the onion beds, and I've pulled up all of the onion plants and they're resting on the surface of the soil to dry out. If we have rain in the forecast, I'm going to cover the bed or I'm going to move them to a sheltered area. But fortunately we don't have rain in the forecast, so I'm just going to leave them here to dry. This next bed also was an onion bed, but these ones had bolted to seed, and so I chopped them up and froze them to use later. This is the lettuce bed, and I did kind of a dumb thing. I planted the seeds when it was still a little bit too warm to get my next crop of lettuce, and they just didn't want to germinate. So I'm going to wait till it's a little bit cooler, and then I'll plant again and hopefully have lettuce for the fall. The potato bed is continuing to look pretty sad. And that's just, you know, the end of the season. It had a few problems, but I know that it's developed potatoes because I've done a little exploration in there. I will let them get frosted before I harvest them. Okay, in the next row, and let me just get around so you can see, this is the Indigo Rose tomato bed. And if you look at them, you know, the tomatoes are just beautiful. They look like little jewels to me. They take a long time to ripen, which has been very frustrating. The flavor is good. They give you lots of anthocyanins, which are very healthy. However, I don't know if I'm going to grow them again because they just are taking so long to ripen. But boy, are they productive. Okay. Now, the next bed, you'll notice on this trellis, I've got this vine growing up it, and that is a Trombone Zucchini. I had an extra plant, and so I decided to put it up on there, and it's going to town. I don't know how tall it's going to grow. Right next to it is part of our pepper patch, and because the tomatoes are taking so long to ripen this year, we ended up harvesting a lot of the peppers, partly to use in one canning recipe, but also we decided we had better chop them up and freeze them so that they don't go overripe and rot before the tomatoes are ready, because we really want to make some salsa. So with a little luck, tomatoes will be ripe soon, and we can use the rest of these and the frozen peppers to make that. Okay, this next bed, which is covered, is still the beet and Swiss chard bed. I always keep it covered with floating row cover to keep the leaf miners away from them because they really damage the plants terribly. In this next bed are carrots and lacinato or dinosaur kale. Both are doing great. Next bed is very full of summer squash. The lower plants in the foreground are Clarimore zucchini. They are absolutely delicious. I can see a couple here to show you how pretty they are because it's a light-skinned zucchini. Here you are. Very tasty, very tender. Definitely going to grow those next year. That was a new variety for me this year. And then on this grid I've shown you before, this is the Trombone Zucchini plant, and unfortunately I've harvested a bunch of big ones. However, I do have a cute little guy to show you here, if I can get to it. Let's see. Here we go. Aren't they cute? They can get pretty long, but they're very tasty. They taste like artichoke, which is kind of cool. Okay, check out the leek bed. It is doing beautifully. I'll harvest those after a frost, but there's no huge hurry because they're pretty darn cold tolerant. And then I have peppers growing down the middle of the bed. This last bed, which I have to back up to show you, is my sunflower bed, and I just love it. What's really cool, let's see if we can zoom in for you here, is that it's always covered with bees. Isn't that great? I just love it. Need all the pollinators we can get, right? Okay. Now, let's turn around here. I have a bee bugging me here, speaking of bees. Wants to come and see what I'm doing. So this is the hoop house, as you know. And I'm growing cucumbers, which are going nuts, and they have been producing really nicely. And then I have a partial bed of Arava honeydew melons, and on the other side it is Napoli, which is a Tuscan cantaloupe, and they are to die for. So we still have quite a few to pick. You can kind of see some little guys in here. So I'm waiting for them to ripen. I hope that they hurry up because I need to plant some of my winter crops in there quickly. Okay, this next bed will look a little different to you because it's empty. This used to be the purple teepee bush bean bed, and they were finished producing, so I went ahead and pulled them out, chopped them up for the compost, and then I have planted in their place a cover crop, and you'll notice it's covered with bird netting, and that's because when those are first sprouting, birds think that those little sprouts are delicious. So that's not good. Our artichoke bed has been a little bit of a disappointment this year. Normally they produce well, but we've had such oddball weather. But as you can see, we are picking some. They're really quite beautiful. Okay, next bed over is more sunflowers because I kind of went overboard on sunflowers, but you can never have too many. Okay, and then here's the celery bed. And the other day I had removed a whole bunch of leaves and chopped up the stalks and froze them. And that's for winter use, for soups and stews and so on. And then the pole bean bed, which is going over an arbor. It's my favorite part of the garden. Sorry about the sun. That needs to be harvested, and they are really winding down, so I'm just about done picking pole beans for the season. But they have been very productive, which is awesome. Okay, now I'm going to swivel around here and take you to the back part of the garden. This part should look a little different to you because there's no corn patch anymore. This is where I chopped down the stalks and put them in the staging area to be shredded and added to the compost. And in their place, I have planted a cover crop again. This one is field peas. And once again, I have covered the bed with netting just to protect the new sprouts. But they have not germinated yet. Should be any day now. Okay, and then this crazy tangle here is both a couple of summer squash plants and several winter squash plants. They're producing fairly well, but it's not been a very good year for them, so that's a little bit frustrating. And then I want to show you the last bed, which is the tomato bed. This is where I grow the paste tomatoes. I've shown you these before. You'll notice that there are indeed some tomatoes that are ripening, so that's good. Whoops. A little bit out of focus there. And so that's a good thing, but they need to keep ripening, so hopefully they'll get with the program soon. Okay, so that is officially the tour. We'll just end with a few flowers here in my pollinator garden. These are Gaillardia or blanket flowers. I just love them. And the bees think they're pretty wonderful too. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Happy gardening.